and eventually we will. So now they've come for Stephen Amell. You know, the funny thing about this is that CW is supposed to be all woke and all diverse. And this is what happens when you cater to this type of crowd, right? This is what happened. First, they got rid of Hartley Sawyer, who played Elongated Man. They've been coming after Danielle Panabaker. And now Stephen Amell, somebody who's always going to hold a lot of credibility with those shows on there, even though you can't cancel him now. But he is the foundation of all those superhero shows over there on the CW. And now they're trying to call him racist for supporting cops. And for saying things like he hasn't seen that much racism. So prior to the outrage surrounding Flash stars Hartley Sawyer and Danielle Panabaker, Steve Amell was the first in a string of actors from DC's shared television universe to face backlash from their fan base. Fans accused Arrow star of racism after sharing his personal thoughts on recent protests and riots occurring in the United States in the wake of the death of George Floyd. People are just blowing this stuff out of proportion, going to ridiculous lengths and levels to come after anybody and everybody and cancel them all. Cancel culture is a disgusting thing. So on June 1st, Amell published the latest episode of How You Do It, a relatively new weekly podcast hosted by Amell. Well, I guess they can cancel that. Knocking Point Winery co-founder Andrew Harding, in which the two sat down with a leader, entrepreneur, educator, activist, politician, actor, writer, elite specialist, doctor, or athlete, and asked them a dozen specific questions about precisely how they accomplish what they're known for. The episode was initially set to feature a guest appearance by Grant Gustin, but after Amell announced that the Flash star had postponed his appearance after feeling with everything going on in Los Angeles that maybe this wasn't the appropriate time to spend 45 minutes talking about how he became such a giant lovable television star. Exactly. They're not successful, so they will try to cancel you just because you're successful. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to people who have no lives and invest all their time into looking up tweets from years ago to destroy somebody else that is successful, so they feel like they can feel successful themselves. They get empowered from it, and I don't know why people grant them this level of empowerment that's so disgusting and wrong. It comes from a hateful place. The cancel culture is a hate group in itself, and Black Lives Matter isn't innocent, and not all cops are innocent, but there's a lot of good cops, and there's people don't ever talk about the good stuff. They always talk about the bad stuff. Anyways, instead, Amell and Harding discussed the preceding weekend of pain, protesting, and nationwide outrage. Anybody that talks about this right now that's a celebrity, you're going to be trashed if you're not saying exactly what they want you to hear. So fans quickly took issue with many of the discussion points brought up by Amell in the podcast, including his admittance that racism is a systematic problem, but I'm not as familiar with it just because I haven't seen it in action personally. And that's right, racism is really down. It's really down from what it used to be, why people are acting like it's this horrible, gigantic thing that hangs, that overshadows absolutely every single thing. It doesn't. And you can blame the woke media and woke Hollywood for influencing people to believe all that garbage nonsense. You can blame them directly. So the fact that it's coming back to their doorstep full circle, well, you created the problem, man. So Amell also stated that, for me personally, police brutality has been overshadowed by gun violence simply because that doesn't happen in Canada. Starting with his mention of Grant saying he doesn't find it appropriate. We'll get past that. So Amell states right here that Racism is a systematic problem, but I'm not as familiar with it because I haven't seen it in action personally. Obviously, I see the video of George Floyd being murdered by white officers. Not white officers, okay? One white officer and the rest were other races. I remember the Trayvon Martin case and all those things that have been happening. He had, although most of that for me personally has been overshadowed by gun violence. That's a big thing. That's difficult for me to wrap my head around. Moving to the States simply because that doesn't happen in Canada at all, ever. He then detailed his belief that about a percentage of people in law enforcement, a very small percentage, are effing ruining it for people. Should be celebrated and they should be lauded, that they should be paid more, and they're paid more than they're paid. Okay, so obviously that's going to piss some people off because they want all cops gone right now. They don't want to hear that any of them are good. They don't want to hear, especially don't want to hear any of them should be paid more. And first of all, racism, a systematic problem. Well, if you want to count affirmative action, I guess, yes. But Hollywood calls for all this affirmative action type stuff. Oh, we need to check a box. We need this person of color and this person of this representation for this. That's what I see as systematic racism. Other than that, it's not really a thing. You want to talk about records, data, the data that says this many people of color commit this crime routinely. I guess you could argue that's systematic racism. That can you disprove the data? Then we go to this wild moment of him saying he isn't familiar with racism. Then talking about that the gun violence not happening in Canada. Here's 2 minutes of him talking about good cops exist because he's met them and seen propaganda on Twitter. Amell explains, I think one of the shitty things is, you and I, knocking point, and through these parties and just in general, in life we've met a lot of police officers who are really, really great people, and I've been noticing on Instagram and Twitter these various police chiefs thinking about one another. Flint, Michigan, I believe there was one in Houston as well. They're putting down their batons and their weapons and they're marching with everyone, and they're saying, look, we can march, but if we're going to step out of line and you're going to wreck things in the city, we're not going to stand for it because this is our city. You see the emotion on their faces, and it would be really tough to dedicate yourself to a job that's as perilous and dangerous as law enforcement. Be passionate about it and have it ruined by a few bad apples. And it continues, he adds, when I say a few bad apples that come off as trivializing, it could come off as a little pippy. I'm talking about percentage of people in law enforcement, very small percentage that are ruining it, who frankly the majority of law enforcement should be celebrated, and okay, so that's pretty much what he was talking about. Oh, well, he goes on to some racial talking points. Some of the vitriol that good police officers are having to deal with, male, female, black, white, brown, doesn't matter, that aren't part of the problem but are identified with the problem. So Amell then expresses his desire to protect a local mom and pop convenience store from potential rioters and looters wishing to avoid seeing it burned to the ground. And he just goes on to talk about it, and then of course here comes the outrage. Stephen Amell ain't been shit for years. He's a racist, misogynist douche, and the CW protected him. Let his moment of reckoning finally come. What is wrong with these people? They're all disgusting racists themselves. That's what's wrong with them. A couple of you unfollowed me after my tweet this morning, so I'm going to say it again. Stephen Amell is a racist, selfish, effing asshole. If you don't like that, then bye. Wow. He didn't even say anything racism or anything, but the fact that people are reacting like this really says something about who they are as people, not him, who they are. How did everyone miss that this man is racist, and it's not like he's been hiding it? Jesus Christ. If Stephen Amell didn't learn anything about racism working 8 years with a black person by his side, it won't be just in one day that we will happen, especially if it doesn't want to. Okay, I don't care about that. Hopefully, his buddy that played Diggle comes out and backs him up. Otherwise, that dude's just trash. The way these people just letting them get thrown under the bus, their co-workers, their celebrities, their celebrity friends, the way other celebrities are allowed them to be thrown under the bus and not defending them or anything, it's pretty disgusting. And it shows that these people care more about themselves than anybody else. The fact that they can't even defend their own friends who aren't actually doing anything wrong. If they were doing something wrong, yeah, I say don't stand up for him. Was he doing something wrong? No, absolutely not. So a prominent accuser of Amell was Image Comics writer T. Franklin, who asserted that Amell had been showing us his racist ways for quite a while, and his wife. And he goes on, F you, Stephen Amell, he's been showing us his racist blah blah blah. Also Grant Gustin, they're gonna come for the Flash. You might as well just cancel that show now, like I said. Also, Grant Gustin ain't absolved, cause he definitely didn't support and speak out for Candace. Wow, man. This particular accusation garnered a response from Amell, who stated that if you need some or want to help me better understand, hit me up and we can chat. You totally nailed me. Hope that makes you feel better. I just followed you, so if you need something or so you want to help me better understand, hit me up and we can chat. However, Amell's request for a private and sincere dialogue was met with hostility. Well, big surprise from Franklin, as the author continued to further accuse Amell of racism and condescendingly fell back on the tired rhetoric that it was not her job to educate him, while also conflating her personal relationship troubles with her grievances against Amell. I'm not the only black woman that's called you out, so I know you've had these conversations. Silence is complicity, while playing ignorant is ludicrous. You're a father and someone in their 30s. You're not... Jesus Christ, these people are nuts. They're insane. How many times do I have to say, don't talk to these people at all? In fact, let's get rid of Twitter altogether. How about we just get rid of Twitter? How many problems will that solve for celebrities and the world at large? It'll solve a lot. Cancel culture is disgusting, and real racists are the people running around calling these people racist when they're not actually saying anything racist. So Franklin has since continued to accuse Amell of blatant racism while downplaying her own role in the ongoing controversy. She downplayed her aggressive accusations as simply responding to keep it moving, and acted surprised when Amell chose to no longer engage. Yeah, well, black people are racist too. They don't want you, the mainstream media, I guess, doesn't really want you to believe that. They want you to think that white people are oppressors and all that stuff. But if they really were, if this country was as racist and oppressive as you claim it is, then everybody out protesting right now would either be in jail or dead for their actions. This isn't a racist country. There are racist people in this country, but they are not the vast majority. So all this chaos and stuff is happening over a very small portion of the country, a very small population. Racist people are a very small population. So did you get paid? I'm just going to scroll down here. Let's see. So I'm not going to read any more of those garbage tweets because there's no appeasing these people. There's nothing you can do besides surrender everything that you are to their cause. If you're not with them, you're against them. Trying to exercise that there's some kind of middle ground? No, there isn't. Everybody is for their political extremism. There can't be, and that's why we're here today, where we are now, because this extremism And the CW catered to it. They certainly influenced the problem with this whole woke talk, this whole diversity matters, and all of Hollywood. They instigated all this with all their marketing, trash talking points, trying to virtue signal and act like they're better than everybody else, act like the rest of the world is such a garbage factor. Hollywood kind of brought this upon themselves, but I still don't think that they should be attacked like this routinely. Accusations tossed and hurled at them constantly. People losing their jobs, getting their livelihood just severed. It's absolutely disgusting. So he has said nothing wrong. Good to know. That's one of the comments down here. There's quite a few comments down there. This is no point in defending any of these people. They will cave and grovel. I'm not wasting any more energy on blue checks. Oh, there. Let's see. There seems to be an outbreak of fundamentalism on the left. Nothing that guy said was racist. It's like a repeat of a satanic panic. Only this time we're finding racist in every shadow. Absolutely agree. I'm not going to read all these comments, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of time these clowns won't be satisfied until it's a hate crime to be white. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. And welcome to hell. Welcome to hell for white people. We're the ones who are getting trashed constantly, even by our own race. So who's really oppressed? Who's really at CW? You might want to rethink your whole diversity matters and everything, because it's getting you in a lot of trouble right now, and it's about to cost you every show you have. It's certainly working up to that right now. And what's that going to happen to your network? It's just going to plummet straight into the ground. You're digging your own grave. So I'm going to say it again. Hollywood needs to stop catering to these mobs. It's ridiculous. Anyways, with all this said, like, subscribe, share, rank up my channel, bring more attention to it. If you watch this video and other videos of mine, consider subscribing to come back for more. I talk about this kind of stuff all the time. I talk about the entertainment industry in general when it comes to casting of comic book movies, TV shows, when it comes to cancel culture and all this stuff. With all that said, thank Goodwin here. Eventually we will. That doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon. So stay awesome. Rock on.